Hey guys, so I've seen some really bad movies in my time, and I mean really bad movies, but this one takes the cake, the whole cake. This is truly an awful movie. So this came out on Prime yesterday, starring Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. It is a sequel to a movie that came out a few years ago, A Simple Favor, which actually wasn't too bad. We'll go into that a bit more later. So spoilers, if you care enough, go watch the movie first and come back. So, look, this is a movie that has been review bombed, I will admit that. But that's not to say that the really low 1.9 isn't still earned. I still feel like this movie, to have any rating, is generous. So, look, this is meant to be a thriller, comedy, mystery that fails at being funny, mysterious, or thrilling. It's basically for those women, myself included, I will admit, that love true crime and those crime movies, shows, that type of thing. It's the women that like those guilty pleasure Lifetime type movies that I admit to watching from time to time. It's for the women that like You, which is a pretty good show. Up until the last season, which was so frustrating I couldn't even review it. It was so bad. Like, it was such a steep decline from good to bad. Anyway, look, it's for those women. Throw in some fashion, and I use the word fashion loosely because really, I mean, that hat should have its own orbit. It's that big. I feel like Blake Lively in the movies where she has a say in what she wears like this, and it ends with us. She just looks like she's trying too hard. She's trying so hard to be this fashionista, and it just comes off like a kid playing dress up to me. Honestly, I think Anna Kendrick's character looked better in most of the movie, so this movie just thinks it's way more funny, clever, and stylish than it actually is. And the plot twists, the so-called surprises, they're ridiculous. And the plot is just too convoluted. The first one was actually not too bad because they kept it simple and streamlined. It was a basic mystery. Here, it's just all over the place. There's evil twins and a mafia family. It's just trying to be too many things at once, and it just gets too messy and convoluted. This is basically a Lifetime movie with a really big budget, masquerading as something more. And that would be fine in a guilty pleasure kind of way, but it's just so bad. That's not to say that there isn't a few things that I liked. Firstly, Anna Kendrick. She's what carried the first movie, and she's the best part of this movie. She has an effortless likability factor that works in her favor. She's a good actress, and it especially makes it hard when she has scenes with Blake Lively because she's so much better than her at acting that it actually throws you off a bit. And the filming locations of Capri, it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous backdrop, but that's basically it for the good. So the characters felt like caricatures, not actual fleshed out people. The mafia family, which by the way felt so unrealistic, the way Blake Lively's character was acting towards this really powerful, really dangerous mafia family, especially the matriarch of the family, the mafia mother. I mean, really, she would have been killed by her husband for acting that way in a real life mob family. And it was some of the worst acting I've ever seen, like actually takes you out of the movie bad. So one issue I had with the first movie was that it was very tonally inconsistent. It was trying to be a thriller and a comedy. And some movies can walk that line and balance it. But in this case, it tries its hand at both and fails. So Henry Golding, he's a good actor. He was fine in the first movie, a bit of a douche, but in the second movie, they just amped it up so much and made him into this misogynistic villain who was like 2 seconds away from twirling some kind of mustache and tying a woman to the train tracks. Like, it was that ridiculous and over the top, his anger. Like, yes, he's at his ex-wife's wedding, who was a horrible person. He has a right to be bitter and angry, but he was just so mean-spirited out of nowhere, and this movie just didn't explain how we got to that point. And I feel like it was mainly to make Blake Lively's character more believable as a redeemable person, even though she murdered her own sister. This movie is obviously trying to retcon the first movie as her as the villain and trying to redeem her, which I feel like if they'd committed to making her the villain, it would have been a better movie. Though when you find out who the villain actually is, it is kind of her, but not her. You'll see what I mean soon. So Blake Lively can't act. She's okay as the bubbly sort of sunny, happy disposition type socialite role, but here as the villainous femme fatale mystery woman, she just can't pull it off. She just came across as trying way too hard, and her performance, and the dialogue especially, was so awkward and forced. It just really took you out of the movie. Whenever she said like babe or something, or baby, she called Anna Kendrick's character baby every 2 seconds. She was trying way too hard. Okay, so for the actual villain, get ready for it. It is Blake Lively's character's identical twin sister. Yes, that's such a cheesy Lifetime movie sort of thing to do. And it could have been really fun if they'd actually executed it properly. So technically there was triplets, identical triplets. Blake's character killed one in the previous movie, and they thought the third one was dead, but she's actually alive, working as an assassin / con woman. And basically, get ready for it, she's obsessed with Blake Lively's character, and not just obsessed with her, but in love with her. Yes, you heard that right. She's in love with her own twin sister, romantically in love. And they have a scene where she sexually assaults her sister after drugging her. Yes, I want to scrub my eyeballs out with soap. Anyway, I watched it so you don't have to. Anyway, so look, after she sexually assaults her twin sister, they make it like it's a big joke, but it's a funny thing that happened. And it feels so tonally inconsistent once again, because this is a movie that is heavily favoring the progressive side of things. And then they're trying to make the argument that sexual assault is funny because it was between sisters and women. Like, really? You're going to go there? And it did feel like they were going down some sort of progressive checklist. There was a gay kiss, girl on girl, twincest, the standard Christian who has to be portrayed as being crazy, but trying to normalize incest is a new low. And look, in Game of Thrones and medieval type shows like that, it's still incredibly icky, but you can understand that it relates to the time period and the context. But here, it's just so out of left field and gross. And it just feels like it's done purely for shock value. And then we have Anna Kendrick's character, who's like meant to be the most righteous person of the movie, the good person, basically yelling at an Italian lady and abusing her, like verbally abusing her, because she can't understand what Anna's character is trying to say because of the language barrier. And then Anna's character's kid is like the biggest brat and basically doesn't care that his mum was almost murdered, and somehow cares enough to call out his teacher for cultural appropriation. It just feels so inconsistent with these characters. So there's also so many plot holes. For example, we have the mafia mama who drugs Anna Kendrick's character with truth serum, like in that movie True Lies, which is an infinitely better movie. And I might go watch that as a palate cleanser. I feel like I need one. Anyway, so she drugs her. She knows that she's telling the truth, yet she refuses to believe it. Like, what's the point of drugging her then if you're not going to believe what she says? Anyway, rant over. I'm not even going to give this a score because I honestly don't even think it deserves one. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought of it down below. And the sad thing is, like I said, it had potential to be not a good movie, but a watchable, entertaining, popcorn, guilty pleasure type movie. So like, comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.